I am Dr. Marta and I am a cosmetic chemist. I'm actually a chemist, and as oxymoronic as that may sound, that I am a cosmetic chemist whose background is a chemist, you would think, oh, well, why would I think that you're not a chemist? There's a lot of people that call themselves cosmetic scientists or chemists who are not chemists or even have a scientific background for that matter. I have a bachelor's and undergrad in chemistry, which I got in my native country of Spain. And my minor was actually physical chemistry. But I've always loved organic chemistry, and I am actually not a synthetic chemist, so I'm not the one that is in charge of making the raw materials or getting to the raw material the way that you want it. I'm a formulations chemist, so I'm the one that puts all the stuff together in sweet harmony to make it work in your skin. I always think of those ingredients that will help you with certain conditions of your skin or that will protect your skin, right? Like antioxidants or some protection ingredients or skin barriers or those that will help with bursting of your hydration. But those have their own solubility and they have their own compatibility or not with the other ingredients, right? So I always have to think about how to better incorporate those actives into the formula so it penetrates through your skin and it gets to those places where it's needed the most. I used to be incredibly insecure, particularly with my own skin, and I always wanted to look like somebody else. One time I realized that the best way to target your own insecurity is by maximizing your own potential, because there's certain things that you're not going to be able to change, but you can always optimize what you have. I always get chills when I hear that question or when I hear anything about like what made you believe that you could do this, right? When I was working for Estee Lauder, I used to live in New York City, and I love cooking, and I actually believe that most good chemists are very good cooks too. I had invited a friend for dinner and I was making my famous Spanish croquetas. And so the croquetas, after you make them, you have to deep fry them. And I used to have a fryer, and I had a kitchen accident that, it was my own stupidity. I believe that kitchen accidents happen mostly because, we don't pay enough attention to what we're doing. And that actually applies to lab accidents too. But so after I finished frying the croquetas, I grabbed the fryer and I was gonna put it on top shelf, and it was still piping hot with oil, filled with oil. So I was putting it up on the shelf, like the oil just like came out of the fryer and just like dripped all over my arm, right? I had second and third degree burns all over my arm. So when people in Estee Lauder found out, they actually sent me a kilogram, which is around 2 pounds, of La Mer, creme de la Mer, which, as you may know, it is absurdly expensive. And so it actually definitely helped tremendously, right, with the burn. Creme de la Mer was originally designed and formulated by a physicist who burned himself really badly in a lab. But after I used it in a lab, I know that a kilogram of creme de la Mer sounds like a lot, but it only lasts me for like 2 months. When you're putting it in such a large surface, it doesn't go as far as when you put it on your face, right? And I was actually also putting it in the way that it would stay on. I wouldn't even like rub it in to make it penetrate on the skin because, well, first of all, it hurt. And second, you wanted to put an excess of it so it continuously absorbed. So when I finished it, I kind of was ashamed to ask them for more in buying it, even though we got a discount. It's still outrageously expensive, right? Especially when you use it as a body lotion, not like a face treatment. So I decided to make my own. And at that time, there were already quite a few companies that were coming out with their own sea kelp ferment extracts. And I bought a few very powerful blenders and got some other of the raw materials directly from vendors like Amazon or makingcosmetics.com. And the rest is cosmetic chemistry history. So I worked so hard to perfect it. And then I realized, well, I think I can do this. I believe that you don't need a lot of ingredients to create a good formula. You definitely need the right ones. The way that they are going to be stable in the product. So when you buy that product, when you apply it, the active ingredient is still as good as it was intended to, and it is still as efficacious as when it was incorporated into the product, or even as it's meant to be, because sometimes when you incorporate it into the product and formulations, it may not even be filled with the right efficacy, because the actives and ingredients in formulations go through so many processes, and heating and cooling and shear stress, all of those may cause an impact which eventually changes them, right? So I believe very strongly that one, you have to be very choiceful with the ingredients that you're incorporating, as well as the process that you incorporate them with. And also, I love the science of steps for skincare, which goes back to, you don't need a lot of ingredients in one formula, but you may need more than a few ingredients to obtain the results that you want from skincare routine. So I believe that it's best if you spread the wealth, spread the actives throughout a few products that you will apply following steps. So that's that. I'm always focused towards creating lines, regimes, skincare routines. We're in an era where we have realized that there's no such a thing as a miracle diet. There's no such a thing as a miracle skincare product. It is a lot of work, but it is fun work. And trust me, when you do it properly, just like when you take care of yourself and you get fit and you start like feeling better and you start feeling fitter, and that you fit in your own old clothes, and people start telling you, wow, you look great. And it may just not be such a drastic change, but you're feeling so good about it that you radiate it. So that's what I always work towards. Create those lines of products that, when applied properly and constantly, you will see results that will make you shine. Eggs. I actually love eggs for a lot of reasons. First of all, they are versatile. You can incorporate them in everything, but they are loaded with collagen, and collagen does not go straight from the white egg, the egg white, into your skin. Actually, collagen is reabsorbable, which means that your body is going to break it down into the peptides, that its constituents, right? So collagen is actually a polymer. So the peptides are like the units that create that chain, that when all linked together create the chain of collagen. So one thing, when you digest collagen, your body needs calories to break those things up. So digesting eggs is actually kind of like an exercise, like you're using up calories. And then those peptides that come from like the dissection of collagen can be reorganized into tissues for your skin, and actually on many other parts of your body, like cartilage, right? So all the joints, they are very good for your joints too. And I always tell people, when you eat an egg, do not ditch the yolk. The yolk is a great source of biotin, which is hair food. So that's why I love eggs, because not only they're great for your skin, they actually help with hair growth. I have been very, very fortunate in my life to have had amazing opportunities around the world, and and expand my vision and my philosophies, and the experiences that being in other places gives you is such an amazing source of knowledge, and knowledge is power, right? So the when I was in Procter and Gamble, which was a company that is so dear to my heart, I used to love working for Procter and Gamble. They sent me to Asia on my very first skincare assignment. We always think, it's partially true, right? Like, trends and fashions move west east. The one that is the opposite is the skincare. Skincare trends, most of them, at least most of the good practices ones come from the East. So I moved to Japan when like around 10 years ago, to work for SK2, which is also a brand that is dear to my heart. Not only because it was my first opportunity with the skincare world, what truly made me believe that I loved skincare, I loved the science of the skin, but also that I was good at it because I understood it from the deeper roots of where this is all coming from and where do we need what we need, right? In terms of like the layers of the skin. But the biggest thing about skincare in Japan and Korea particularly, which is the Far East, is that they understand the power of giving importance to spend time and money, resources. You don't have to spend a ton of money, by the way, but you do have to spend the time to do your research on what are the products that are good for your skin. You also have to spend the time to get to know your skin, to communicate with your skin, to really let your skin speak to you. And that is something that they do so well in the Far East, and they are not skimpy with the steps. Their routine sometimes takes them to 9 different products that they apply with little breaks in the middle, because it is very important that one gets absorbed before you apply the next one. Why do I always say this is, so there's so many actives, and particularly lately, right? Like, there is always like the newest ingredient that is going to skincare that we hear of, and all of a sudden all the brands are paying attention to that one ingredient. And it is true, a lot of the ingredients do have really significant benefits on your skin, but if you incorporate them with another ingredient that could interact with that one, then by the time that it gets to your skin, it doesn't have the efficacy that it's meant to have. And then on the second part of this is, imagine that you apply a product that contains an ingredient that is going to protect you against oxidative agents, right? So such as pollutants or even some of the byproducts of our own metabolism. And if you don't let it absorb properly and you put another one that contains an ingredient that can react with that one, by the time that they penetrate through your skin, it's going to be a different chemical that may not have the same effect. So that is why I always think of, what do the Japanese do? What would the Japanese do in some cases, right? When I'm thinking about a line of product, always find my inspiration in the Far East. For my skin, I'm gonna go with those first. Not understanding the power of hydration at any age. I was a teenager with oily skin and acne, like most of teenagers. And I didn't understand that doesn't mean that your skin doesn't need hydration and moisturization. So you always need a hydrating product and you need a moisturizing product, no matter how oily and pimply your skin may look. So that's definitely one of my biggest regrets of all time in terms of skincare. Biggest regret of my career in general is not realizing that I was good at what I was doing. There's always going to be a lot of people out there that are going to try to make you feel that your worth is very little without them. So that would be something that I would actually always tell people to understand your own worth is what you make of it many times, right? So be a little selfish from time to time. Wow, that sounds deep. But I do have one that is very important. I'm in my late 40s, and I want to, since I mentioned before that one of my secrets is how my insecurity sometimes got the best of me by trying to look like somebody else, right? And we are a youth obsessed culture. We believe that the only time in our lives to be pretty and glowing is when you're in your 20s. Most of the women I speak with can agree with this, and I'm sure that many of you can agree with me when I tell you that my 40s is yet the best decade in my life, because I feel way prettier by feeling confident with my own self. So my mission is I want people to feel that they are beautiful at any age without trying to look a different age, which is obviously always going to be younger, right? Wear your wrinkles with pride. They are your wrinkles and they have meaning. They all mean something. We all want to optimize our look, and so do I. And I want to hide my wrinkles, my bags, but I don't want to transform them, because the consequences of that transformation may be terrible, and they are irreversible. So use product, be preventative with your skincare. You can prevent a lot of the signs of aging, or at least you can prevent them to go in a direction that they go too fast or too pronounced. But I want people to realize that they can look great at their own age. They can optimize what they have. Because when you know that you look beautiful, you're happier, and happy people are the prettiest.